So when we're talking about why people acquire animals, rescue organizations is an area where I've seen a lot of animal welfare concerns because I think people are trying to do the right thing and they get in over their head and they have really no idea what they're doing as far as the costs associated with that.
Yes.
And when we're talking rescues, there's legitimate 501c organizations, meaning that they are registered with the state and it is truly a nonprofit. Versus people who are doing it out of the goodness of their heart and then getting caught up in the fact that, oh my gosh, this costs money.
Yes.
Now what do I do? Now, as a practitioner, what are your thoughts on these rescue organizations?
So I work with several rescues, some better than others. I would say the problem that I find is that when people say, I rescued this animal, I rescued it. You took the animal from a bad situation where whatever was happening to it, and you brought it into another situation. And my question is the situation that you brought it to actually better in all ways than where it was? So if you took the animal from somewhere where the people couldn't afford to feed it or give it proper vet care, did you bring it into a situation where the horse or whatever it is receiving all the food it needs, all the exercise it needs, and all the veterinary care it needs because you can afford it? So if you take an animal from somewhere and just bring it to somewhere new where they can't get the needs met, you're not actually rescuing the animal. You're just moving it from one place to another. And I don't mean that to come off very harshly, but when I go out to see animals, 99% of the animals that are rescued need a huge amount of medical care, whether it be that they have chronic conditions that were never cared for, whether they are starvation cases, whether they are, they need a lot of hoof work or farrier work or teeth work, or there's usually always guaranteed something that was neglected and now it's not going to be fixed with one visit. It's going to take many visits and also lots of food and also lots of care. It's going to cost a lot of money.
Yes, and one of the frustrations I see in small animal med, now that I'm doing hospice, are people who say, well, although I can't afford veterinary care, this animal is better off with me. They're not on the streets anymore. And it's like, I'd like to ask that question, like, are you sure?
Right.
Because, for example, if you see a dog that's running loose and you choose to take it into your possession, into your confinement, is it possible that maybe somebody else who did have the funds and that could actually afford the veterinary care could have ended up with that animal? Or if it went into a shelter or a rescue organization that was able to place it with a family that didn't have limitations. And so when people have that attitude, well, I'm doing my best, like this animal's better off than like out in the streets or running loose in the wild. And it's like, I don't know that I agree with that. So again, there is a moral and ethical obligation to make sure these animals' needs are being met.
Correct.
In every regard. And when we take that on, just because you rescued it does not imply discount when it comes to veterinary care.
Just because you decided to take on this animal and make it your burden does not mean that it is now my responsibility to not charge my prices, to not have value in my work. Just because you're a rescue doesn't mean I am. It's not my job to rescue the rescue. Correct, right?
And we're bleeding heart empaths. Like, of course we care.
Of course
we want to help, but time is money. And if we are at your farm taking care of your rescue animals and you can't afford it and you're tying us up there's other people who are willing and able waiting on us to show up and take care of their animals that aren't going to balk at all when we say this is what it costs.
And I would say rather than if you truly are, you love animals and you want to rescue those that need help and you want to help those in need, what I would recommend is if you are a CO what is C1?
501c.
Yeah, 501c3. If you are actually registered with the state, do fundraising.
Yes.
And get creative. There's grants. There's different ways. I work with a couple where they have some animals and they put on petting zoos or they put on educational things for the public, or they do camps, or they do different things where people come and you can raise money. Raise the money. have the money,
Mm-hmm.
and then reach out and trying to help the animal. So make sure you have the funds first to actually help the animal before you just bring this animal on a whim.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is if you don't actually have your own, join one. So find one that actually has the budget, actually does the fundraising, volunteer, be part of it.
Yeah.
There
Get
are plenty
immersed
out
in the
there.
environment
Right.
before you decide, I want to do this too.
Correct.
Because a lot of people change their minds once
Correct.
they're in the throes of it.
Yes. And so I think there's so many ways that you can do it. But just because you brought an animal into your house, and I'm not saying that your heart wasn't in the right place, doesn't mean that you're doing the right thing for that animal.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like when you said it perfectly, somebody who has the means may have been able to step in. Yeah. And you're kind of keeping them from that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And this was a great example. This was a client who was seeking an emergency euthanasia for a chicken recently. And this woman has a backyard flock. She's a really good client, loves her animals, and this is not about her at all. But when she asked if I was available, I was like, hey, just so you know, if I was available, it would be a house call emergency euthanasia, the same as I would charge for an animal of comparable weight, like a cat. And there's a lot of people who, when they get a quote for that, they're like, it's just a chicken, or it's just a rabbit. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean that it's cheaper because of the type of species that it is. The billing is based on a doctor dropping what they're doing, responding, traveling to your property, and we're still utilizing the same drugs, which are usually based on body weight, regardless of the type of animal. And so I think there's a big misconception that just because it's a farm animal or a food animal, that the veterinary care is cheaper, more affordable than it would be if we're dealing with somebody's really fancy show dog.
100%.
Or their hunter-jumper horse. It doesn't matter what type of animal it is. Time is money, and drugs cost money, diagnostics cost money, as does our education.
Correct. And along with that is if there's certain tasks that you think or if you're it goes along with saying that, like, if you're a rescue, you just expect it to be cheaper, right? Same with, honestly, a lot of my, these farms are producers, people actually farming as a business. As much as I'm here to support you, it's not my job to lower my prices to make it more affordable for you. Yeah. If you're choosing to farm and produce animals, that's fantastic. I'm here to support you in every way, but this is the cost of my business.
Yes.
And so you need to budget accordingly. Just because it's not a pet doesn't mean that my services are cheaper.
Yes.
Just because it's a chicken doesn't mean it should be cheaper. If there are certain services that can be done by you, the producer, or by you, the homeowner, learn how to do them and learn how to do them appropriately. An example that I always use for people is hoof trimming, right?
Yes.
If you have goats, their hooves need to be trimmed. Some goats need their hooves trimmed once a year, and that's it. Some need them done every month.
Yes, especially if there's an orthopedic problem and conformational issue, the type of footing that they have.
The type of breed, genetics play a role in it. The footing, right. So it depends. It depends. And so there's nothing more frustrating when I go on a farm or someone's backyard and they've got goats and their hooves are horrifically overgrown or they're walking on their knees because they're so sore. And I say, you need to trim the hooves. So you either I will show you how to do it, and you need to allot the time and have people help you or figure it out, but you need to be trimming these goats' hooves every month, or you need to pay for me to come out. And I'm told it's too expensive to have me out. Great. Learn how to do it yourself.
Yes.
I can't restrain them. I don't have time. It's inconvenient. Your goat shouldn't have to suffer. Your animals should, that freedom of comfort of having their hooves correctly trimmed should not be put aside because it's inconvenient or too expensive for you.
Yes. And, a great example that's comparable in small animal medicine would be grooming. So dogs, everybody loves a doodle.
Yep.
And their coats will continuously grow and get matted. And it is expensive to go to a good groomer. I mean, they are a very underappreciated, undervalued service.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of people are like, you just shaved them. How is it $200? And it's like the time and the effort that was put into that is important. And you should have thought about that before you purchased an animal that required regular grooming. And on that note, kind of like you're describing these goats that are walking around on their knees because their hooves aren't being trimmed properly, we're crossing some lines into neglect and cruelty when we are not providing basic needs for that animal to be healthy and comfortable.